start to spend time with people. This is Hudson.
Hello, Hudson.
Hi, Jordan.
I'm talking to
Hey,
Jordan.
Alyssa.
That's great. We're actually on a live Zoom right now, buddy.
This is so our lives.
Can a minute? Thank you. I remember back probably a year ago, we were talking about, office culture and like incredible spaces and like that dynamic energy that's built there. And there were companies that were working remotely, myself included. I was like, really, that remote thing seems like a bit risky. How do you connect with the people? How do you make sure that like you're building the right appropriate team? And like, how do we make investment decisions? And how do we think about connectivity when we can't be together? And now this is what we have. This is all we got. So I'd love to hear your perspective on how you see the dynamics of these companies changing with existing portfolios and looking at new businesses when you're not sitting down to have coffee side by side or across the table from each other.
Well, so there's a couple of different things. Like the first is the deals themselves are changing. Like we as investors have to get comfortable investing in companies where we may not meet management. So, we made an investment during COVID in April where everything was done virtually. In that instance, it was lucky that we had met the founder a couple of years ago and could kind of draw on that. But we did a virtual supply chain audit, and you went into the facility and everybody kind of held their iPhone around to show.
That's wild.
And then we have another company that we've been talking to, and we actually, because the team is scattered, we were able to set up socially distanced visits with the entire leadership team because we had teams in the same places. And so that's an interesting dynamic too, is that everybody's so flexible right now and everybody's adapting, and it's almost like there are no rules, and everyone says, well, this is what I'm comfortable doing, what I'm not. But I think that investors are going to keep finding creative ways to spend time together when they can, and finding technological solutions to, sort of ameliorate the basic issue of not being able to get in and out of the facilities and things like that. One thing I was thinking about is that I remember about a year ago, we had a company that was remote, and an investor said to us, I don't know if we can get comfortable with the idea of investing in this company because they don't have an office. Yeah. And I actually went back to that investor, a couple of weeks ago, and I said, "You still interested?" And they said, "Well, we certainly have lost our argument." It was like one of those moments. I was like, ironically enough, they have no lease obligation, so the P&L is more solid. So
yeah,
I think that there are a lot of people probably eating their words a little bit about how remote work can really be efficient at work.
Do you feel like you've been able to build deeper relationships with a lot of founders because you're not spending your time on a plane going there for a 1-hour meeting, and you can just have a glass of wine together or have lunch together virtually, but you're communicating like on a more consistent basis?
I think everybody is. I mean, think about like the monthly catch-up calls that we all have, or the weekly calls with management teams or partners. The fact that we can do it all face-to-face, over Zoom, I understand it's not in person, but we are having a visual instead of the phone often. And so I do think that there's a lot more of a personal touch that's coming into sort of some of the relationship building. And I also think that because of Zoom, you don't load everything into that one meeting, right? We've got a company we've been talking to for some time, and, I don't know, there's probably been 24 Zoom calls. You really get to know people. And in that way, we have probably gotten to know the founders better. So, I think it's just getting comfortable that like technology will sort of be the third person in the room, and you may have sort of that intermediary, but, I think we can still build really close relationships with people that we trust. I think that we're getting to meet all of our founders' families, right? Like the kids are popping in, there's one on my lap half the time during a conversation, and you see the people's dogs, kind of running around and barking in the background, and this is a human industry that we all kind of lost that side because we spent so much time on the road before. And you and I have talked about this. I mean, we all were on the road so much, and now we get the chance to all the time. And now we get the chance to sort of say, this is my real life, right? These are the people that, are my priority.
It's such a fascinating, interesting thing because when you think about culturally the disconnectivity, it's like when you're home, if you're letting your kids play on their iPhone or their iPad, like no one's looking at each other. They're all playing on the iPad, and then you're like, please come to dinner, and you got to rip it away from them. And then when you're at work, everyone's on their computer typing. Maybe you talk for a couple minutes, maybe you go in a conference room, maybe you get a lunch. But so much of that time is based on administrative, task-oriented work. If you let people do that task-oriented work wherever they feel good doing that work and give them the ability to go in some type of space, but let them do all the administrative work wherever they want, but bring them together once a quarter, every couple months, a few times, the amount of connectivity and relationship building that will happen when you're like with each other for 5 days or 3 days, cooking together, hiking together, playing games together, those bonds and those relationships build so much strength. And we used to only do like an annual company outing. Now we're really thinking about bespoke. And I'm curious, when you talk to your companies, like, what are you hearing that's really interesting, like that they're doing that you think could add value to other companies out there?
Well, we have a company that does exactly what you're talking about. Every year, they have multiple retreats that are week-longs. They do them all over the world because it's an international team. And they are shut off from interacting outside externally to the team. And so we always knew on the board level that, there'd be like the retreat periods that they go dark on all of us. It didn't matter if it was the board, if it was a retailer, like the team was out of communication during these periods because they were remote. And I think that there's a real camaraderie they built because it also, none of us ever knew what they were doing during that time, right? It was all just about their insulated family. So I think that exactly that is going to be what happens. Some of our teams are also doing a lot of other things with stakeholder management, which I think is really clever. We've seen that the boards are activated really differently right now. And so obviously everybody's used to having their quarterly board meetings, and those are now on Zoom and not in person, taking up 2 days, right? The dinner and then the whole day the next day. But some of the teams have actually started to set up videos of their internal meetings, and that they're sharing those with their stakeholders so that we don't ask as many questions, because they're actually so used to being recorded right now that they just record the marketing meeting, the sales meeting, and they just shoot it out to the board and they say, let us know if you have any questions. And it's an effective way to kind of keep the stakeholders engaged too, right? Because we feel like we have a deeper insight into what's going on in the company. And the team gets, to sort of just, be a little bit more removed from being peppered with questions when the financials come in. What are other things the teams are doing? I think that the board meetings have gotten a lot more dynamic through this. They've become a lot more sort of focused in terms of topical of these are like the 6 topics we want to talk about. We don't want to just go through a regular board agenda. Like, we actually want to work together in working sessions. And so I think that goes along with what you're saying, is that people are starting to actually like make use of the time better and to take advantage of the smart people, hopefully, that they brought around the table. But from a culture building perspective, we've seen everything across the board. The retreats, the sending gifts to the team, the surprise. It's almost like Secret Santa type stuff. People do stuff like that, which I think is actually really fun, where they partner people up. And the mentoring has gotten, it's really improved, where like we're seeing like the leadership teams are setting up more mentoring with the junior teams. There's a lot of different things that people are doing.
What are you most excited about right now?
I'd say there's 2 things. The first is I think we're all learning how to optimize our businesses, us included. And I think that I've been saying since day one of the pandemic, there's going to be so much creativity that comes out of this, and so much originality, and so many authentic new ideas. The idea that there's so many bad, terrible things happening right now, and we all are feeling kind of sort of like the global macro pain. But I do think that we're going to come out the other side a much more sophisticated industry with new ways to embrace, things when you think about like packaging, or you think about how the companies are constructed, or diversity in terms of internal initiatives. Like, people are just thinking differently, and they're thinking more broadly about how they can kind of break through and differentiate. So I'm pretty excited about kind of what, the industry is going to evolve into. I think it's going to be a big changing point for all of us. What are you most excited about?
So I'm most excited about removing invisible walls and allowing our organization to work and live wherever they want, and getting the best out of humans because they feel authentically, like true to themselves, where they need to be, why they need to be there, and not chained to one specific location in a specific space, building the best global team that we can possibly have. I've always had ambitions of building a global organization because we work with global brands. And we always said, we can't open up in London yet because we don't have an office, or we can't open up in Shanghai because we don't have an office, but we were doing work out there. Now it's like, you want to go live there? You want to do it remotely? Do you speak the language? So it's such an exciting time. But what makes me even more excited is not just our own internal organization, but how we're transforming the way organizations are designed for dozens and dozens of incredible founders and organizations.
You get a chance to help so many companies redesign. It's an amazing opportunity for you guys to offer creative ideas and solutions and think about retreats and board building and on all these different aspects that are so relevant right now. For us, it's like, we're within two, but it's different. We're a stakeholder in all the businesses, but I feel like your entire business is built on the redevelopment of community. And right now, I mean, there couldn't be a more opportune moment for that.
I don't take it for granted because the relationships and, everyone is so open about what they don't know. And so you start to take incredible pieces from certain different scenarios, and depending on an organization, you can help advise and guide. And it's like this coaching, mentoring component of like how to design the future workforce. And by the way, it doesn't mean people are hiring more people. It just means they're redesigning the structure of their company. The way it was structured might not be the way it should be structured moving forward. And so the level of openness and like the level of self-awareness, like
and adaptability and flexibility and nimbleness. These are all words we're using again and again, and they can be overused. But like, I do think that all these fresh ideas are going to be, sort of the bedrock of what the future looks like. And I don't know about you, but I found that in the past, 7 years of us doing our business, there was, always like a question of if there was something unconventional outside the norm, like, should it be the case, right? Oh, you don't have an office. What does that mean for your company culture? Nothing, apparently.
Yeah.
So not a single thing. It didn't change anything. We all are still having amazing companies that we're proud to be part of. So,
exactly.
So for me, it's like, I think that we've always sort of challenged the status quo, and we've always challenged kind of the norms of what people were expecting. And I love that that's going to be a huge part of what the next 2, 3, 4 years are, is that nothing is going to be what was the historical norm. It's all going to be fresh ideas.
The more we're focused on community building and helping each other, whether or not there's economic interest in it for us, I think the higher likelihood we strengthen this community of people that are building brands, of great investors, of strategics. And I feel like everyone needs it now more than ever, but you guys have done such a good job of that. And I just want to give you kudos there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I myself learned from our team so much. Like they've been a big part of, teaching me to be flexible as an investor, because, we had to sort of figure out, how do we work with 37 different management teams who have different approaches, different styles, different leadership, skills, and to think through, like, each one of their sales strategies are different, and they take pride in being innovative and, in thinking through things a little bit differently. So, for me right now, it's like one of those moments where the construction of these companies is about that individuality, right? I look back on like the first 8 weeks of the sort of COVID period. And as you know, we did those town halls, and we were having, we had 30 plus of our CEOs on every call every day, which was an amazing thing to watch them all collaborating and sharing ideas and notes. And it was a moment for us to realize that, like, as much as in certain ways these teams compete, they're all here for each other. It's rising tides in this industry. People want to see other companies succeed. It's never about being the first and only to market. Everybody wants to be the first, second, third, and maybe fourth, in terms of having the advantage, because that's what's going to build the category. And so I love that this has been a period where, when all of the dominoes fell and it was like 52 pickup, that our management teams were there for each other. And that was probably the most inspiring part of this personally, is it kind of brought me back to our roots of when we started this, where our expectation was everybody's got to help each other. Everyone's going to work together, share ideas, be thoughtful about one another. And that's sort of a hallmark of our business, is sort of that collaboration and cooperation.
What is the most valuable thing that you've really learned?
That first and foremost, you've got to be taking care of your team. I think it all starts with, making sure that the people you work with on a day-to-day have what they need and the tools they need to succeed, and I think it's been a big moment for us to really prioritize, like, everybody's going through something right now, personal, and nobody's are comparable, right? There are people who are displaced, people who lost people who had, friends or family who got sick. There are people who have been really affected by, everything going on with Black Lives Matter. Like, this is a moment of listening and tending to each other and really taking care of the people that, sometimes, your teams are like your family, right? They get that side of you, right? Where we take them for granted. And now's not the time for that, right? We need to make sure that we really take care of the people that we work with, and we're listening to them and, thinking about, how can they be set up for their best success? Because that's how our organizations are going to keep growing and keep thriving. What about you?
I would say a higher sense of gratitude. And what I mean by that is being in the space that I'm in with the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression, you would think and feel, oh, people are lucky to have a job. I've never felt more lucky and grateful for having great people to work with. They are the ones that pull us through. They are the ones that come together. They are the ones that collaborate. Without great people, without taking care of them and recognizing that and appreciating that, you won't have a great company. And I just have such a deep appreciation for that. And this has really helped me reflect on that a lot. Not worrying about what I don't have and focusing on what I do have.